It's still tremendous. It's a big shock, it's.
You look at him, and you are staring straight into comedy history itself. This man is 98, a living monument to laughter and loss. He has seen his wife go, buried friends, and outlived nearly every giant from his era. For decades, he has been the man who made the world laugh, no matter how dark things got. This is the same guy who spent night after night with his dear friend, eating dinner off trays, watching Jeopardy like clockwork. But yesterday, when cameras caught him outside his quiet, tucked-away home, where he has lived in near seclusion for years, the air felt cold and heavy. There was no smile, no quick joke to cut the tension, just a man who looked completely drained, as if an entire century finally caught up with him all at once. Now headlines are roaring about the horrifying details, the arrest, and Hollywood is shaking to its core. One violent night in a dynasty shattered.
My father said, there's going to be, he wanted to tell us before we went to sleep that night. He says, when you wake up, there's a man that's coming to visit, a man, and because he didn't want us to get scared if we came in and saw this strange man. There'll be a man sleeping, and so just don't wake him up. He's like, so now at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock, me and my sister, we see this guy, he's like in a window seat, and I go, I said, is that the man? That's the man. And she says, is that the man? Yeah, that's the man. That's the man. And so Mel Brooks wakes up and he sees these two little kids going, are you the man? Are you the man? Yes, I'm the man. Let me see that. So that was my first introduction to Mel Brooks. He was the man.
He has stayed silent, and that silence screams louder than any headline. Everyone in Hollywood knows he was not just a friend to the father. He was family. The godfather, the uncle, the man who changed his diapers, taught him timing and watched him grow from a wild kid into one of the most respected directors alive. He was not watching from afar. He was there through it all. So when he finally let a trusted journalist sit down in his living room, there were no lights, no cameras, no PR spin, just a recorder and the truth spilling out. What came next was not a statement. It was a confession, raw and uneasy. It flipped everything we thought we knew about what really happened inside that house. He did not start with the crime itself. He started with guilt. Sitting in his armchair, his hands trembled, not from age but anger. He said, "People keep calling this a tragedy, a sudden break, an accident." But he looked up, eyes sharp and glassy, and said, "This was not an accident, and it sure was not sudden." According to him, this was a slow-motion collapse that played out over 10 long years. Everyone close enough saw it happening, but no one had the guts to stop it. They loved him too much to confront him, and here is where it gets gut-wrenching. The warmest man in comedy admitted that those closest to the parents knew the son was unstable. They saw the storm forming, and still they stayed quiet. But he made it clear this was not about some monster suddenly appearing. It was about parents whose love went too far, turning into the very thing that destroyed them. Then he went back to one Sunday afternoon that still haunts him, 6 months before the tragedy. A calm day, sunlight spilling through the window, the kind that is supposed to feel peaceful. The father showed up at his place, the same routine he had done for years. But this time something was off. He did not touch his food. He just paced, restless and wired with dread. He said the father looked like a man being hunted inside his own life. He confessed that the son had moved back into the estate after another failed rehab stay, but this time it felt different and darker. Even though the son was in his 30s, everyone still called him the boy. That alone, he said, told the whole story. The father told him that the son had become unpredictable, delusional, and agitated, snapping without warning. The tension at home had turned toxic. Then the father said something that made him freeze. He whispered that he had started locking his bedroom door at night. A man known for openness, family, and empathy, now barricading himself inside his own home. That is not concern. That is fear. When he asked, why not call the police? Why not get protection? The father gave an answer that still echoes through the house. He said, I promised my wife I would not give up on him. If I kick him out, he ends up on the street. If I keep him here, maybe I can save him. He slammed his hand on the armrest when he recalled it. He said he yelled at him, told him straight that he was not saving his son. He was protecting danger, but the father would not listen. That stubbornness kicked in, the same relentless will that made him a Hollywood legend, now driving him straight into tragedy. That same stubborn drive that once made him unstoppable on a film set turned dangerous at home. He believes that refusal to draw boundaries became the real breaking point. The violence might grab headlines, but what he revealed about the money is what truly twisted the knife. People see the wealth, the empire, the legacy, and assume wealth makes pain disappear. He said that could not be further from the truth. Over the last 2 years, things did not just drain them emotionally. It started draining them financially too. Not because they were anywhere close to broke, but because the pressure never stopped coming. I talk about it and it is hard for me. When I first visited the site where that woman was killed, which is where we shot the reenactment of it, right on the very site, and they were taking me through it, I stood on the driveway at the spot that he was murdered, and I start crying, and it is very overpowering. It takes you over. And he said the son's demands grew relentless. He was not asking anymore. He was demanding payment, claiming it was payback for how he was raised. He explained that the son spun his demands like reparations, twisting his parents' kindness and open-minded values into guilt. He used their compassion as a weapon. He insisted that his struggles deserved millions, and he pushed that narrative hard. He said it was not chaos, it was cold calculation. The father would show up to his house with tears in his eyes, phone shaking in his hands, scrolling through messages that were cruel, manipulative, and full of blame. The son accused his father of everything: his pain, his failures, his addictions. Yet somehow the very next day, the father would still cave, buy him a car, pay his rent, fund another project. He called it the Hollywood illusion, the idea that if you throw enough money, love, or time at a problem, you can rewrite the ending. The father genuinely believed he could direct his son's recovery like one of his films. Set the scene right, control the lighting, fix the script. But life is not a movie. There are no retakes. He saw where it was headed long before anyone else admitted it. He said it all became crystal clear during the holidays last year, a small, cozy family gathering that felt tense from the moment the son walked in. The air was tight and electric, like it could snap at any second. He could not take his eyes off the son, but more than that, he watched the son's eyes locked on the father. He said it was not the look of a son anymore. It was cold, focused, almost territorial. Then the father made one of his classic self-deprecating jokes, the kind that always made people laugh. Everyone chuckled except the son. He did not even blink. Later that night, he pulled the father aside. He grabbed him by the shoulders and begged him to act. He said, "You need to get him out. He does not look at you with love. He looks at you with ownership." He said it with everything he had left. But the father, being the loyal and kind man he was, took it as criticism. "You do not understand him like I do. He is hurting," he said. That is when he broke down in the interview, not for himself, but for the father and for the boy he once knew. The kid who played on his dear friend's living room floor while he cracked jokes nearby. The boy who grew up into a man who could not tell the difference between love and enabling. He said that guilt still eats at him every night. As the last living pillar of that golden generation of comedy, he feels he failed his people, his family, his legacy. And the part that haunts him most is that he never called the police himself. He said it still feels like a weight he will carry forever. Just the thought of a man being, killed in front of his family like that, and having a couple of sons myself, the thought of being taken away from my sons like that, it is just so profoundly disturbing that, and that feeling permeated the whole making of the movie. There was a tremendous coming together. Everybody was, had the feeling that we are doing something important here, and it is meant to be seen, and all of that. And at the same time, we were all kind of holding on to each other a little bit. But then came the moment that froze the whole room, the night it all happened. The official timeline sounds sterile. Times, locations, reports, just numbers. But he says he knows what really unfolded in the hours leading up to it, because the father called him that night. It was late. He was already in bed when the phone rang. He almost did not pick up, but something in his gut told him to answer. The father's voice was faint, barely above a whisper. It was not small talk. It was not a joke. He said he was not saying goodbye, but it felt like goodbye. The father told him, "I am losing control again. He is shouting about the will. He thinks we are cutting him out." He panicked. He told him, "Leave, get in the car. Come here now." He said he begged him over and over, but the father's reply stopped him cold. "I cannot leave my wife. She is with him. She is trying to calm him down. If I leave, he will take it out on her." He went silent as he retold that line. The father stayed in that house not out of denial, but out of love. He knew the risk. He knew things had gone too far, but he could not abandon his wife in the middle of that chaos. He stayed to protect her, fully aware of what it might cost him. That was the last time he ever heard the father's voice. In the end, this story leaves one haunting truth. Fame protects you from nothing, not from pain, not from betrayal, not even from the people you love most. The father's legacy will always live through his films. That is permanent. But now, because he chose truth over silence, that legacy carries something else too. A painful lesson about the limits of love and the fragility of the human heart. The silence has been shattered. The shock is real, and this reality cuts deeper than any movie ever could. This was never a story meant to comfort. It was a story he had to tell before time ran out. Whether we wanted to hear it or not, it is the story we needed to hear, because pretending otherwise only guarantees that it happens again. In the end, this story leaves one haunting truth. Fame protects you from nothing, not from pain, not from betrayal, not even from the people you love most. The father's legacy will always live through his films. That is permanent. But now, because he chose truth over silence, that legacy carries something else too. A painful lesson about the limits of love and the fragility of the human heart. The silence has been shattered. The shock is real, and this reality cuts deeper than any movie ever could. This was never a story meant to comfort. It was a story he had to tell before time ran out. Whether we wanted to hear it or not, it is the story we needed to hear, because pretending otherwise only guarantees that it happens again. In the end, there is only one way to truly honor someone who is gone. Tell the truth, not a polished version, not a rewritten narrative, just truth, raw, human, uncomfortable truth. He honored his friend in the only way he could now, by refusing to let his story be wrapped in something neat or convenient. He exposed the heart of it, the pain, the warning, the reality that love, no matter how strong, sometimes cannot save you from what is already growing in the dark. So do not let this story fade out with the headlines. Let it stay with you. Let it make you uncomfortable. Let it make you look at your own family, your own limits, and your own silence. If this story hit you, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video so the message reaches further. Comment your thoughts. Your voice matters here. Share this story so more people understand what really happened behind the headlines. And make sure to subscribe for more stories that go beyond the surface. Stories that challenge, confront, and refuse to be ignored. And some stories are not meant to entertain. They are meant to wake people up. And this one should stay with you long after the screen goes dark.